Good morning and welcome to another episode of Moms in Real Estate in the Morning. I am so excited that Kristen and I get to be with one of our all-time faves, Candace Decker. If you don't know Candace has, she was a producing agent for years. She had a team in Florida as well as, where were you originally? Georgia? Were you originally in Georgia?
I've been Illinois, Georgia, Florida. Yes.
All over the place. And Candace is also one of our vendor partners here at Moms in Real Estate. She runs Easily Virtual VAs, and she is like the queen of leverage. One of the things I love most about Candace is how she's been able to completely redesign her life multiple times to be life-giving, to be fulfilling, to be everything that her family needs in the season of life that they are in. And now she's one of the main people that help our moms to get leverage. So we're just excited to open up this conversation today and just kind of talk about like all the excitingness of like building big, rebuilding, restructuring, leverage, all the things. So welcome, friend.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be on with you ladies. So I got licensed before I had kids. So married, had all the time in the world. And I could work till 1 a.m. It didn't matter. I could go take time off to kind of plan out my business, and then I had kids. And so as I continued to build my business with having kids, I had them 23 months apart, everything got more complicated. And I'm sure we all feel like that. There's just so many moving parts. And, as our kids grow, we want to spend more time with them. And my business was an absolute mess for so long. And I know a lot of the women, especially in the Moms in Real Estate community that I talk to every day, I'm sure you ladies have been in this position where you're just a hot mess. Like I hear that all the time. I'm a hot mess express. I'm so disorganized. I'm going crazy. Like nothing's going right. And so that's exactly what I do. I help women and moms who really are just trying to get their business more organized and structured and have some leverage. Because for some crazy reason in real estate, we think that we have to do everything ourselves and that we're the best at everything and we can't relinquish control because we're all big control freaks. And we are our own worst enemy. And so that is ultimately what leads to the burnout and being a mom and a wife and running a house and having friends and maybe a hobby if we have time, which most of us don't. And so it really is like we create this own monster for ourselves that we really can't get out of.
Yeah, I'm actually looking for what I wrote down this week. There was a nervous system coach at this retreat I went to. And one of the things she said was like, it's not impressive for your kids to watch you burn yourself out. And I was just like, I just thought that hit me really hard because I'm like, it's so easy to get caught up in everything and just like allow yourself to say yes to everything and be everything to everyone. And it's not impressive at all, but yet we put that burden on ourselves. And I think it's just like how we're naturally built. So like, how did you in the beginning figure out like how to start leveraging stuff? Like, let's go back to maybe like when you first started, because I feel like that's where a lot of people are and like want to hear from your experience, what that looked like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I first got into real estate, I did everything myself. Like I built my own WordPress website, like back in 2013, I did everything myself.
That's hard.
And I loved it. Right. But then I think like the big moment for me was when I really got my listing strategy down and I started prospecting every day and I got myself systematized on my schedule. Well, what happened was I became so regimented in my schedule that I was taking a listing appointment every day. So that was my goal, was prospect all morning, get the appointment and go on the appointment in the afternoon. That was amazing because all of a sudden one May I had 13 listings. It was crazy. The problem is that now I was still the one doing all of the paperwork, doing the follow-up, sending the emails. And so my kids were 2.5 and 6 months old and I was working until 1 a.m. every morning, and my husband was making dinner, putting the kids to bed, doing all the things. And he'd be like, are you ever coming to bed? And it's like, I can't, this is too important, you know? And it's like, how sad is that, by the way, that like, that's what we're doing. And a lot of us are doing that every single day.
Yep.
So what really changed was my first hire. So hiring that person to put together the listing agreements, write the offers for me, put together the Canva templates, and put them on Facebook. And I think when I realized, okay, this doesn't have to be me, I can just go be the people person that I want to be. And I think that's why a lot of us get in this business, is because we love talking, we love people, we love it being out in the community. And I think a lot of times we lose that because we're so bombarded in the office. That's the last place you should be as a top producing agent who wants to grow their personal brand. You shouldn't be in the office. You should be out meeting with people. And so when I really, really realized that is when the switch happened for me.
I think you just said something so powerful. And I also think it's like one of the super amazing values that comes with working alongside you, is like you understood that being in the relationships was where you're supposed to be. In my journey, you know, I've been in this business 23 plus years, and I've looked for leverage in different ways. And early on, I was coached by, you know, I had male influences. And they were super successful, and they had highly profitable businesses, but the scale looked a little bit different, and the way that they leveraged looked a little bit different. And so I remember at one point in my business, I had leveraged away in a lot of ways my relationship. And even now, sometimes when I look at like my business, you know, it's like the input and the advice that I get will be like, oh, well, you know, get somebody else like running your social, or, you know, at one point it was like, get somebody else to do the gifting, get somebody else to do this, and get something. And what I've learned over the course of my career is like, the relationship is what you should never outsource. Like you can outsource everything else, right? So I think that's really powerful. And I think that's something that you probably bring that is so important when people are starting to look at, like, you have that real life experience. So you're not just somebody who built a company that offers virtual assistants. You're somebody who's been in this industry. You're a mom who started, scaled, grew the team, had the big team, had the mega team, had the flex, had all the stuff, had all the leverage. And so you understand really like how to help somebody position themselves for like, okay, this is what you leverage without losing the relationship, right?
Yeah. And without sounding cliche, I think the big thing is to find what your superpower is and step into that. So for me, it was booking listing appointments over the phone and going on the appointment and selling it. And that was the only thing I did. That's all I cared about doing. And then all of a sudden, I mean, my entire life changed when that happened. But when you step into that one or two things that you're so good at, you hone in on your skills even more. So it's like the more I spent on the phone talking to sellers, the more I was able to really understand what their objections were, what their pain points were. And then I was able to convert better on the phone and book the appointment. Then when I would get to the appointment, I was getting even better at figuring out like, okay, when I say this, like all of a sudden they're leaning in. Or when I say this one thing, they're looking at each other, the husband and wife, and like nodding their head. And just these little tiny nuances I was able to focus on because I wasn't so stressed out about all the other things. And that then in turn gave me the ability to convert at a 90% conversion rate at the kitchen table. And so when you become really good at that one thing or those two things, all of a sudden your sales volume goes up. And maybe you're not focused on some of like selling a lot of vacant lots for $20,000, or, you know, a lot of times like we start doing all these crazy things and working with all these people. It's like, well, what if we just really figured out this one path and just went hard on that one thing?
Yeah, that's so good. Randy,
well, it's also how you avoid the burnout, right? Like, I think we get burned out because we're, you know, so often doing the things that we absolutely despise. Mm-hmm. And then that just amplifies the burnout. So what would you say, like, so I feel like, you know, even from 5 years ago, people are so much more open to hiring virtual assistants, right? Like, I think that the stigma is decreasing and decreasing. But right now for somebody that's like, okay, like, what does that even look like? Like, what does that look like? And where does somebody start? And how do they recognize? I think this is really powerful, not to triple you with questions here, but also like, how do you recognize burnout? I don't know that every mom recognizes it when you're like thick in it and you're trying to do all the things. I think, and for the successful moms out there, they're like, this is just what it is. This is what success looks like. And they don't recognize that it's burnout. So how do they recognize that?
Well, I think we need to address the addiction of real estate. Yeah. I think that a lot of people don't really realize that they are addicted to the business for a lot of different reasons. And we could go on a whole tangent on what that is. And it's probably a lot deeper than a 2-minute conversation, but it's like, what is it? Like, is it ego driven? Because for me, it was ego driven. I'll be totally honest on that. And I think a lot of us are. It's like, well, I want to be a number one. I want to be the best. I want to do all these things. And it's like, well, I know I had to ask myself, why? Why is it so important for me to be number one? And so then when I realized, well, it's really more about income and it's really more about taking care of my family. Okay, well, let's talk about what that looks like. But I think a lot of us are addicted to the business and it's hard to get out of that fight or flight mode. Like Kristen, you mentioned the nervous system coach. I didn't know that was a thing, but I love that because
crazy, amazing.
A lot of us have lived in a fight or flight mode for so long, we actually don't even realize we're in it anymore. And I built a real estate team, a large team, and it really, like, I didn't build it all the right way. And it like really, really burnt me out. And it took me months to get out of fight or flight mode. But I think going back to burnout, the question is, we're just not having fun anymore. You know, it's like when you're not burned out and you're making money, you're having fun. You're able to go have lunch. You're able to go to your kids' sporting events. You're able to make dinner for your family or do all the things that you want to do and also make the money you want. And so I think a lot of times people come to me when they're way over burnt out versus like 75% of the way. And I think what you have to look at is like what your pipeline of business is, because you might have gone from selling 2 homes a month to 3 to 4. And then all of a sudden you have 10 pendings at once. Like that's not manageable. And that's a lot of times where your systems will break. But we're so in the thick of it, we don't realize like, oh, well, you know, last year I did 24 deals and I did 2 consistently. And now I'm doing 5 consistently a month. Well, now you're doing 2.5 times the amount of work you were doing on your own. So who's doing that work? Well, you're just spending more hours doing it.
Yeah. And I think that, so for somebody, because I know we get this question a lot in Moms in Real Estate, is like, who do I hire and like, how much does it cost? Can you maybe like peel the curtain back? If somebody was like, okay, this sounds great and I really want to do this, but like, tell me more about what does that even look like to do my first hire?
Yeah. So a lot of times there's a lot of resistance from real estate professionals. And I think it's because they're so overwhelmed. And this is where it gets tricky. Like you're so overwhelmed that even hiring somebody feels overwhelming, which it's so crazy to hear someone say, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do this all. But also like I'm so overwhelmed that I don't have time to hire somebody. It's like, well, you're never going to get out of this and you're really going to like have issues in your business. But what we do is we recruit real estate experienced virtual assistants. And why this is important is because you don't want to bring on an assistant who has never done the things that you're doing in your business, because then you are going to be overwhelmed training them on what's a buyer, what's a seller, what's a title company, what are all these things. And so we specifically find candidates who already have that experience, who are already using the systems that you're most likely using. And so the runway to get them started, I mean, we have virtual assistants sometimes who in the first week are like fully pushing initiatives forward, working on projects, getting things done. So that's very, very important. So they already have the experience And then we also have a whole internal team who is there to make sure that your assistant is successful. So we spend a lot of time onboarding them, going over expectations and how to communicate with a top producing real estate agent, because we want to make sure that they understand how busy our clients truly are. And their job is to remove friction and stress away from us as the real estate professionals. And so we have that whole internal team. And then what we do is we help you hire them, go through the interview process, and then we manage them long-term. Because what I've learned over time is typically as real estate agents, we're not great managers. And it's just because we are focused on our clients. And so we do the payroll, we take care of benefits, we track their time. We have our own mastermind, just like we're doing right now in the Moms in Real Estate community. We're doing that within Easily Virtual with our assistants. And then a lot of times we don't have structure in our business. And so we have different resources that we provide to help our clients get started, get organized, and their virtual assistant gets their systems in place instead of our clients getting their systems in place and then bringing on the virtual assistant. So I always have to emphasize, your virtual assistant should take jobs away from you, not give you more jobs.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really good. I'll tell you, like, a mind block that I had initially. So I think I hired my first VA probably close to 10, maybe 11 years ago, and overseas at that, right? Like I had in office staff, but I wrestled with it because one, I felt like, oh my gosh, like, wait, am I doing something that, I shouldn't be doing? Like, am I removing a job from the US? Like, I just struggled with all the different, and then I even at one point was like, am I taking advantage of these people? Right. And I think a conversation that's important to have is really like what that looks like, because what I came to learn is that I was actually getting to help other moms. And I thought how cool it was. And I learned like how their schedule was. And I learned that what this meant was that there was a mom that could work at night while, she put her kiddo to sleep and they went to sleep and had a great night's sleep. And then she worked. And then after she worked, then she got to wake them up and get them off to school. And then she got to sleep. And then I also got to learn that like there was no disadvantage happening. I had a cost savings, but they also had a strong income. And so it was like, then it really shifted my mind when I was able to go, okay, wait a minute, this is actually a huge win-win, and I'm creating value for the person on the other side as well. And so can you talk about that a little bit? I know you like alluded to the fact that they have ongoing support and they have like the mastermind and but I think what's important that I know about your people is like they have a community and this is a career for them, right?
Yeah, all of our virtual assistants, they are college educated. They've worked in the professional space for mostly US or European based companies for many, many years. And virtual assistants is not a new concept. It's been around for a long time. And we specifically recruit out of the Philippines. And that's probably, Randy, even where you hired your first assistant 10 years ago. There's a really strong connection between the Philippines and the US real estate community. For whatever reason, it's been like that for a very long time. And that's why we're able to get top talent, because we have assistants who have been working for a US-based real estate agent for the last 10 to 15 years. And so sometimes they come in with a lot of knowledge and can teach us things, which is really crazy. But what I love about working with assistants out of the Philippines is, like Randy, you mentioned, their cost of living is just so much less than ours. And the way that I look at it is most real estate agents would not be able to afford to bring on an assistant at what our cost of living is here. Now, 10 or 12 years ago, I hired an in-person assistant for $12 an hour. That is not possible any longer. Most assistants across the United States, and maybe there's a couple of markets where this doesn't apply, but they need to make $60,000 minimum in order to support their family. And so that is just not in the cards for most people. And so this model works so well because you can bring on a part-time person. Like for us, we're white glove service, we're all inclusive, and you can hire a part-time VA 20 hours a week for $899 a month, Or our top tier full-time service is $17.99 a month, so just under $1,800. And you're not paying the additional payroll service fees, you're not paying additional payroll taxes, all of the additional costs that come with having somebody in office. And I will say, as much as I love in-person assistants, our virtual assistants are a lot more efficient and they get a lot more done during the day. Because what are real estate agents? We're chatty. We want to talk all day. We want to be friends with our assistants. And guess what that doesn't do? It doesn't create productivity.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be friends with all of my assistants. So, we never get anything accomplished. I used to have, when I had a larger team, I had four or five women in the office and talking half the day. And so why I was like, okay, at some point it dawned on me, every single producing real estate agent should have an efficient virtual assistant who is just knocking out their to-do list all day long.
Mm-hmm.
Let them step into their superpower and delegate the rest. And it will make such a big impact in your business when you are able to let go of all of that stuff and just have somebody focus. And as I love, like, for instance, my first virtual assistant I hired 6 years ago, she's still with me today. We have a wonderful relationship. We're very, very close, and we still have that great relationship, but we check in and then we get to work. And so we just accomplish so much more because we are virtual.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's virtual. Oh, what did he say? I'm a virtual what?
He said, so I think he's watching on one of our public streams, but he said, I'm a virtual assistant for almost 7 years. So that's cool. I love that we have a virtual assistant watching too. Yeah, I think when, I think sometimes too, we underestimate what a virtual assistant can do, right?
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes we think it's just like something back end. And I have to tell you, I have a transaction going right now. And there's a lot of moving parts on the transaction. And something that has caught my attention like 2 or 3 times is the efficiency of the VAs on the other side. And I can recognize, you can kind of recognize I can recognize that it's probably an international VA. And there's 2 that are on this gal's team. And they're doing the TC work, but their efficiencies and making sure things are followed up or circling back and making sure we have a document. There's actually been 1 or 2 times where I'm like, dang, I would have thought that would have come from the agent. And then I sat there for a second and I had to work through my thought process because I was like, well, there's no reason that needed to come from the agent. That's definitely something that we as agents normally would send, but fiduciary and to do the transaction, right? There's no reason it had to come. And I was like, that was much more efficient. And so I had found myself in the last couple of weeks in this deal going, wow, they've got a lot of great efficiencies. And it's funny because I've had a VA in one capacity or another for over 10 plus years. And it was a reminder to me that while I have VAs that are doing certain things, I have multiple businesses. So for me, it looks a little bit different. But I was like, wait, you could probably have leverage in a few other places still, right? Mm-hmm. So, and don't you have a cheat sheet or you have something that helps them to start to identify where the gaps are, right?
I do. And actually, our marketing person just put together an incredible full spreadsheet that goes through the daily, weekly, and monthly tasks of a virtual assistant. And it goes through CRM management, marketing management, transaction management. And so what we can do, we can figure out a way to get that to whoever
we can post it in the comments. I love it.
Because this is so detailed, and I know my brain is not always traditionally been detailed, and the more detailed that you can make the task for your virtual assistant, it's just the more efficient they're going to be, the more that they're going to be able to take on, and ultimately just the more consistency you're going to have in your business and the more systematized it's going to be. So yes, I will get that Google Sheet link to you right when we get off this call, and then we'll add it to the comments.
Ooh, and see it.
Yeah, so it creates a lot of structure.
Well, ladies, we loved kicking off this call this Monday. We hope this got you excited about, like finding the areas that you can bring some leverage in your business. One of the hearts behind Moms in Real Estate is to make sure that you not only have highly profitable businesses, but also highly life-giving businesses. And so if for any reason you're struggling with that profitability or even with that life-giving component, we highly suggest that you reach out to Candace. I have no doubt that even aside from like VA, she can probably help put her finger on what's happening in your business and where the gap is. So always know that if, you can obviously reach out to Candace directly, but you can always go to MIRE.com, and all of our partners are there. And so we just are so excited, and we're so happy that so many of our moms are having success. And I also just want to reiterate two quick things here. Number one, ladies, we are a group of 40,000 plus. At this point, it's always our goal and our effort of ours and our staffs to make sure that everybody that you come into connection with in Moms in Real Estate is a safe space. But there's a reason that we have trusted vendor partners that we bring here on the morning show and that we put on the website. And that's because we know that these are people that are reputable. These are people that are vetted. These are people that we use. And we want to be your shortcut. We want to know that when you are looking for anything in the real estate space and in our ecosystem, you can find them inside Moms in Real Estate. And so we've heard horror stories. So
yeah, you guys, I think that's something that it is such a positive thing that we have these partnerships, because like Brandy's saying, we've heard horror stories of people just promoting that they offer VA services. And we have emails showing what people have done to people. So you do not want to just hire anyone, even if they look legit. Some of these companies have looked totally legit. Do not do that. Like Candace, we know firsthand, we use our VA is from Candace's company. So definitely that's the route to go.
Yep. Oh, and also if you have a VA, so here's another thing too. Over the years, I have, I've been, once you start building relationships, and I think this is how Candace's business kind of built, then you're able to see what else can we do and how can we expand? And so I actually have multiple VAs that came to me in one capacity or the other that were not through a company. And I ended up with them not having community or them not having ongoing growth or ongoing support. So Candace even has a program where if you already have a VA, they can come alongside and become part of her VA community so they can get that support too. So I think that's really important. The last thing I wanted to wrap up and say is that do not forget that our mastermind is up and running. And so our monthly mastermind for Moms in Real Estate is open, and our referral network is also open. And that has been another area of success. Like Candace said, when you're able to do your one thing, we have some agents that have just they've got some leverage in their business and they're focusing on their agent to agent relationships. And we've seen them have 2, 3, 4 new transactions. And so make sure you're tapping into all those resources. And again, you can find them at HeyMIRE.com.
Yeah.
All
and
right, ladies.
Also, you can partner. Candace is one of our partners. So if you're I like these 3 girls, you could.
Oh, yes.
At
Real. Yes, we are all together at Real. So if you're also thinking about making a move, you can definitely reach out to Candace, and that's a whole nother avenue she can support you on, right?
I know. Candace.
Yes. I just want to mention really quick that what I do, so let's just say you are VA curious. You're not sure.
I love that.
VA curious.
You're ready. You're not sure how this all works, or you just want some clarity around your systems. We can do an hour-long discovery call. It's free. And I just learned everything about your business. And even if you decide not to move forward, we'll go through everything you're doing, not doing, what you want to keep doing, what you want to get rid of, what you could delegate out. And so we can do that hour-long free call just to get some clarity in your business.
So good. Guys, that is such a valuable offer and probably such a great note to end on. So make sure you reach out to Candace. And of course, if you ever need anything, Kristen, Candace, and I are all here for you. So have a wonderful day, moms. Bye, ladies.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, guys.